So, hi Wim.
Hey.
I was walking past here at Bristronica and I saw this really interesting set of screens, and this is running a software application that does some really cool stuff, right?
Correct. So the application runs on iPad, Raspberry Pi, Mac, Windows, whatever you want, and it turns your monophonic sampler like a Digitakt or a TR8-S or any other into a polyphonic synthesizer. It also adds pitch bends, module functions, grouped parameters over any CC value you want.
So macros, effectively, yeah.
Macros, yeah, correct. Grouped LFOs. So yeah, you can extend the functionalities of your sampler with a lot more stuff. So the pitch bends.
So what are we
module.
hearing there? What's that?
Now it's the application is in one note chord mode, and it's triggering polyphony in one note chords on the Digitakt, for example, with pitch bends that you can set.
So I presume that's fiddly to set up because you'd have to split the channels and set each of the instruments to be how you want them. So this does all of that behind the scenes, does it?
Correct, yeah. So you set it up once and then you start playing. And for example here, you just set up the group parameters. You can assign, you can MIDI map it. So you can start to use your Digitakt or any other also as a mixer. So for example, you can set your bass and kick. You can set the cutoff there. And while you're playing, you turn the cutoff from the kick and bass, and maybe on other channels you set reverb on your hi-hats, so, or even volume settings, so you can completely use it as a mixer and do whatever you want over channels.
So is it running? It's running as an application. It's not running in the browser or anything, right?
No, it's an application that runs on iOS or Raspberry Pi even and Mac.
So have you got a more complex patch that you could show us, or is there anything that's using?
Well, for example, I can show you the LFOs over different channels. So as you see, the same LFO is now running over multiple channels, and you can tempo sync them. So we take in the clock from the Digitakt, and you can tempo sync the LFOs to the clock of the Digitakt.
So I mean, in terms of how people would use this, is this something people could use live, or is it more of a studio-based thing?
You can use it live and in the studio. We added it to iOS. You can really use it live, or for people who would love to do it in Linux, can put it on the Raspberry Pi. So you can take it live with you or in the studio.
So explain the flow of what's going on here. The MIDI controller is going where?
Correct. So we have MIDI out going into the app. Yeah. For now it's on the Mac. The MIDI goes into the Mac from the Digitakt, clock information, CC values, whatever you want.
Yeah.
The keyboard goes also as a MIDI in, or you can even trigger notes if you want, but that's a different setup. And the application spits out MIDI again.
So it's like a complex merger router and...
correctly, yeah.
It applies maths and all sorts of other stuff, right?
Indeed, yeah.
And so is it specifically for TR8-S and Digitakt, or does it do other things?
It does other samplers too. And actually we started out developing it for a TR8-S because you cannot play the TR8-S with a MIDI keyboard. And our app does it over MIDI Sysex, and you can play pitch perfectly on the TR8-S with it, and also polyphonically, of course.
Wow, okay, so you're sending little Sysex strings for notes.
Correct, yeah.
Does that handle velocity as well?
Yeah, you can set the velocity however you want. The velocity, minimum velocity. You can select how many voices you want, where the voices should start, what CC value you assign to module, and here it's specifically for the TR8-S for the kit. And you can totally customize it further however you want. For example, I'll show a TR8-S configuration, and in here you can set, if you have set up like your specific track note numbers or CC values here, you can also set that up. And fun fact for the TR8-S, when you play, here. Yeah, it shows you the exact pitch values you should set for the TR8-S.
So how do people get hold of this? I mean, is it a bought? Is it paid for? How much does it cost?
It's not out yet, so it's going to be out in a few weeks, and I think the price will be around 29 euros.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
And people can find it?
Sorry, it's here.
It's here, okay.
Yeah.
Right here.
So that's the company name is Per-Sonal, per-sonal.com, and you can find us on Instagram and every other social media platform.
Thank you very much.